get to the other example. You may think, again, that when you said something to your student and you use a proper oral language, yes, they think about the same thing which you want them to think. But it's not the case. Again, remember what Vygotsky said, that in your inner speech, your inner language is tool for your thinking. So it's also the question, what kind of concept behind the word is there. I'll just give you an example, and sorry, it's a Russian example, but it's perfect for you because you don't speak Russian, yeah? It's a Russian guy. So the figure in the center is a model, yes? So I call my model Bu or Blah. Let's call it Blah. And you look at this model as a student, and your teacher said Bu or Blah, yes? And teacher is pretty sure that he or she introduced to you this stereometrical figure, yes? But as a student, you can, for example, you can think the teacher referred this word only to the form, the geometrical form, yes? And then another student may think in your classroom, I'm trying to point to, no, well, it's one down here. Another student may think that you point to the size by using word Bu, unknown concept, yes? One more student in the class may think that you point the attention to the height, and one more student in the class may think you point attention to the color of this model, okay? You use this word, you think that they're capable of thinking about all the characteristics of this concept, yeah? But chances are, in the inner speech, they only point to one or two or three characteristics. This is how you make what's called educational mistakes. Because as an instructor, you think, well, I told you so. Why don't you understand mediation? Yeah? And they nod and say, yeah, we understand mediation. They have this person jumping back and forth in mind. And I continue my lecture with that person in mind, and definitely you can understand Vygotsky theory, or my lecture for today. If that was your concept, and I didn't double check what behind your nodding and then understanding words I said as an instructor. I don't know how interesting or relevant it is, but a lot of Vygotskian research is sort of trying to pinpoint to those sort of mistakes in interpretation, given that we think that language is a powerful tool, yes, okay, but also it's a tool for thinking, so it doesn't stand alone. You need to double check what kind of thinking is behind the language and what they actually do acquire from you when you give them some instruction. I'm sure that experienced teachers or instructors know that. Yes, I think our profession is very kind of prominent for the fact that you got to repeat yourself 1,000 times. Yes, I told you in the first class what will be in the final exam. Yes, but then I get 1,000 questions, and I'm not to be upset because I know from Vygotsky that I might get some piece of the concept, but it takes a long time for them to understand in full what my concept was behind the word when I told you so. Yes, so that's why we find ourselves in this situation, repeating ourselves, and we think, well, maybe something wrong with their memory, maybe, you know, they're just oblivious or something, but that's not. It's a long and sophisticated process when two people talk and using the same language to develop the concept behind this language. One more kind of example maybe to go with this also is, and may I use that Blackboard? Yeah. I'll try. For example, we use a lot of visual aids, yes? We think they're very nice because they avoid language altogether and they go directly, they go directly to the point of what we want to say. So unless you're a really good artist, and I'm not, but traditionally I was told to use visual aids all the time in classrooms, yes? And then, unless you look at the Vygotsky point of view, you have to ask yourself, is a visual aids as a medium or mediational tool which helps your student to understand the situation? Otherwise, the visual aid could be actually not helping and confusing for the same reason like I was just trying to illustrate. So here's an example for you. I'm talking about the story of 5-year-old kid went to a second house called dacha in Russia. In Russia, everybody have dachas, like in the woods, somewhere in the mountains, second houses. So the kid went to this cottage over weekend and then telling me a story, and I said, so how was it? And the kid drew this. He said, oh, I'll draw a picture for you about this trip and the weekend, what happened. So here's a task for you. It's a visual aid, yes, a kid trying to explain to me what was happening in the dacha. What do you think kid draw? What you can infer from this visual aid? What is it?
He looked out the window.
So you think it's window, yes? No. Could be, but no. What else it could be? Cottage. It's something to do with cottage, but it's not a cottage. This is cottage, but what is this? Sorry? TV? No, Sally, it's not TV. I don't think we have TVs in our cottages. Maybe in Canada, not in Russia. Yes?
Within the cabin or within the cabin?
No. Okay, so here, to take you out of this guessing game and your misery, this is actually the matchbox.
A matchbox?
Yes. Because for that kid, the whole meaning of the event was about putting fire in the fireplace. And the matchbox become magnified. Yes? The whole meaning of the situation is now in the matchbox. Interesting, yes? So you have similar situation all the time in any classroom, depending on what meaning your student stresses. Yes? Do you understand why? And that's why when you do the visual aid or you stress some meaning, it's definitely not guarantee that the student sees the same thing in your visual aids or understands the same thing in your oral speech or presentation. Because they think about some other concept and have some other concept in their mind. So Vygotsky brings to us this analysis of the tools, because eventually I could have led you, didn't have time, through the analysis, and you will arrive to the matchbox answer. But for that you have to know what kind of tools this kid has in possession, what the kid think about situation, what is most impressive, what most bright parts of situation. So there's all kind of interesting questions Vygotsky would force you to ask in order to answer the simple question, how do you understand the situation? With visual aids it's very confusing, because behind the visual aids, Vygotsky say, there's always inner speech and language is always present. So some of you I know here from bakery department, for example, yes? And it tends to be in a lot of instructional subjects in which there is no academic sort of written language requirement so much, and the idea of learning by doing is more prevalent. Yes? So people tend not to see that language is still present in every learning by doing situation. Similar to this situation of visual aids, there is always meaning attached to learning by doing situation. And the meaning is being conveyed through the inner speech in written or oral language. So the fact that you show something to them, or even illustrate something to them, Vygotsky say, even in the situation of apprenticeship, it doesn't mean the language wasn't present. It actually was hidden, and if you don't tap into that hidden resource, you don't understand why you show something to them, and they simply can't repeat. Yes? Because there is something in between. It's not only the actions and not only direct understanding of the situation. There's always this interpretation of the meaning and sense, and how these two go together.